Hey, Slushy New Buckaroos, how the heck are you? I thought I'd come back on here and do a couple more, loosely themed Valentine's cocktails. Got a different shirt on here. We're going to keep it. Yeah, so typically you do think strawberry, and I may do one later, but I had two different cherry whiskeys. I had the one earlier that I had, and I've got another cherry vanilla bourbon I'm doing with this one. So I want to use these products first. I may do something else later with the strawberry, but I think sometimes we get caught up and we have to do this. No, you don't. So I'm kind of that, sometimes my ODD gets the best of me, that oppositional defiance, man. No, I'm not going to be like anybody else, no matter what. So, anyways, yeah, so I'm using the St. Elmo cherry vanilla bourbon for this one. Now, for the last one, I used the Traverse City cherry infused bourbon. This is a cherry vanilla bourbon. So cherry vanilla going on here. So I got one kind of doing the same thing. I added the creme de cacao, doing the cherry cordial. But the second one, I went a little different direction. We'll talk about that later. Put that off to the side here. So let me show you this whiskey real quick, and I'll pull up my cocktail. This is the St. Elmo Cherry Vanilla Infused Bourbon. Now, this one's at 88 proof, so I went down a notch as far as the proof or ABV is concerned, or alcohol percentage. 88 proof. This is a St. Elmo. This is a really neat product. And here I got this here. So here's what I did with this. I've got 2 ounces. That's nice. Of that cherry vanilla bourbon, 1 ounce of the creme de cacao, and then a few dashes of some cocoa bitters or chocolate bitters, if you will. So the whiskey is emphasizing cherry and vanilla. So I got the cherry and that cream note. Then I added the creme de cacao and those cocoa bitters to emphasize the chocolate of the cherry cordial. So sláinte. So again, I bought this whiskey about the same time that I got that Traverse City, and I'm down to near the end. I may have to polish this one up at some point this evening, but I want to do these 2 cocktails with you, starting with this one. The other one I went a different direction with. Again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Oh, mercy. That is nice, though. So this one, even though the ingredients are very similar, the cocktail comes off quite differently, even though I'm trying to achieve the same thing. Because, again, I've got a bourbon of lesser proof, and I also have a bourbon that emphasizes the cherry and vanilla. Although the other cocktail did have that essence of a cherry cordial, this one is probably closer to that because it is a little sweeter. Again, a little lesser proof. Again, emphasizing that vanilla just a little more. I'm really enjoying the bartender phase of my life. Spent a lot of years doing a lot of different things. My sister recently retired after, I think, 47 years, she said, in the banking industry. And my brother retired a few years ago after a lot of years in the post office. That was my 2 eldest siblings. They knew what they wanted to do right away. I have another older sister who didn't come to that realization that quick, but she still has been in a career for a very long time, as well as my younger brother. Again, he didn't find it quite that soon, but he's still been at that same job for, I don't know, close to 30 years now, if not at 30. I've always been kind of that rolling stone, I guess. Never found that one thing I wanted to do forever. I found things I love to do for a period of time, but I never had that one thing. Again, as a kid, I don't know. I used to tell people I wanted to be a musician, but I really didn't, if I'm being honest, or I would have put more time into it. It was just something to say to get people off my back because I never knew what the hell I. What are you gonna be when you grow up? Hell beats the hell out of me. At 20, at 30, what do you want to be when you grow up? Hell beats the hell out of me at 40. What do you want to again at 60? The truth is, I found some things I was good at for a period of time, so I did those for a living. I happened to find myself in the retail business at about 22. Found myself working into management positions at 23. So I kind of did that for a long time, not necessarily because I loved it, but it's just where, where things took me, I guess. So I did that for, I don't know, close to 30 years from beginning to end, I guess. Then I ran a carpet cleaning business for a short period of time. Well, for about 8 years, but had to give it up when our son was diagnosed with leukemia. But I again, it was just something I did. I never had that, that feel that this is where I belong until now, right? Until now. Yeah, I do believe I was meant to be a bartender. I think most find that out before they're, damn near 60. But now at 60, I mean, I get the greatest joy out of writing cocktail recipes, coming up with cocktail recipes. Now, I will admit freely that I'm not reinventing the wheel, right? I'm not reinventing the wheel. Almost everything that I do, is using the Manhattan or the old fashioned, depending on your point of view, as a template. I'm using this. Okay, well, we're gonna like we'll start with this, but then we're going to use this, and then we're going to use this. So I don't try to reinvent the wheel, but I try to put together flavors that maybe folks haven't really thought of before, or maybe just in a different way, so everything kind of makes sense. And I love doing it. And not only do I love writing those cocktails and coming up with those inspirations, I love making them, right? When somebody orders a cocktail, it's okay. I'm not a flair bartender by any means. I can't flip bottles. I don't have the dexterity for it, but I do try to put a little bit of showmanship in it. Can't do the Tom Cruise and Brian Brown thing in cocktail. Again, I don't have that kind of dexterity, but I can make kind of a show out of it because I'm a little bit of a goof. I try to make it comedic as I do these weird dance moves and, try to make it fun. I try to make it fun for the folks coming in and ordering the cocktails. And I really enjoy that a lot. So is this where I'm meant to be till the day I die? Hell, I don't know. But I will tell you that I'm really enjoying doing it. And I'm getting good enough at it where I'm starting to get a little cocky. I know I haven't made a living out of it as much as some much younger than I, but I've also been around it longer, right? I've been around all of it since the beginning of my life. And I know that sounds like an odd thing to say, but I grew up in bars as a kid. So even though I wasn't necessarily a professional bartender, I've been doing this since I was a kid. Much too young to be able to drink, I was making drinks and cocktails. So I'm starting. I didn't used to let it bother me, but I'm starting to take exception to folks that say I don't have the experience because I haven't done it for a living as long as I have. But no, maybe I haven't done it for a living as long as you, but I've been around it longer than you've been alive. And I think that means something. And I think that's why, again, I love to cook too. So maybe that's why I feel like I have an idea of why certain flavors work well together because again, I love to cook and I've been cooking since I was a kid. So in putting cocktails together is largely the same thing. You look at certain things, okay, this will work with that. That will work with this. These are great flavors, but they're not necessarily compatible. And I don't think, from what I've seen anyway, I don't know that I've looked at a lot of complicated recipes from younger bartenders. I'm thinking, you really think those two flavors work? But then again, I also have to come to the conclusion that I like a classic cocktail. I like a simple cocktail. Some folks like things more complicated. They want those 8, 9, 10 ingredients. I just think if you put too many competing ingredients together, your cocktail's lost. That's why I am a firm believer of keeping it simple. You don't have to do crazy things or have crazy techniques to make a fine cocktail, but a lot of younger bartenders seem to think you do. But this is very nice. Again, I'm putting obvious flavors together, right? I've got a cherry vanilla bourbon. I've added some chocolate liqueur, and then I've added some cocoa bitter. So clearly, I'm going for a cherry cordial kind of feel, and it's very easy to do. So I'm going to finish this up so I can bring out cocktail number 2 for you. Okay, so here we go. So here's what I did with this one is I used that cherry vanilla bourbon. Put that down for just a second. I used the cherry vanilla bourbon, but I wanted to go a slightly different direction with this. I didn't want to go chocolate. I wanted to stay bright and fresh, more spring-like. So I used 2 ounces of that cherry vanilla bourbon to 1 ounce of some Grand Marnier. You following me? And then I used a dash of some cherry bourbon bitters, but then I also used a dash of orange bitters to really bring out some aromatics. So you also know I'm using that orange. That my garnish is an orange peel, much like I would do with an old fashioned, and then also that dark cocktail cherry. So cilantro. Oh gosh, that is delicious. Bright and cherry vanilla with some orange. Cheese whiz and bacon. That's delicious. And although that might not scream Valentine's Day, it does feel like spring, right? And again, orange, vanilla, cherry. I think you can find some romanticism in there if you really wanted to. It's not as obvious, maybe, as cherry cordial or strawberry and chocolate. Nevertheless, I'm just saying, doesn't have to be chocolate, man. Anyway, sludge. I had a hankering to try this particular cocktail, though. The chocolate cherry with the orange. I've been dying to put this together. And it really works. But I wanted to use, I felt like I needed to use more of the cherry vanilla than the Grand Marnier because I didn't want the Grand Marnier to take it over because it is rather powerful. That's why I used 2 ounces of the St. Elmos to 1 ounce of the Grand Marnier. I wanted just a little bit less because that Grand Marnier is very bright. But that's why I also wanted to add the cherry bourbon bitters for those aromatics, but I also wanted to add a dash of the orange bitters to really accentuate that as well. And it works, man. It works. Anyways, I digress. Yeah, that really is delicious, man. This is glass. These glass. My wife, I think it was, I can't remember if it was a set of 6 or a set of 8. These little mini coupes that my wife found in Little Rock, Arkansas, on our way out of town. Actually, in fact, the day we were leaving, we stopped at the store one last time. They were so neat. I wanted to take these to work and do like a kind of a, I don't know, a Manhattan sampler or a martini sampler, but I couldn't convince my boss it was a good idea. But a lot of cocktail lounges in town have martini samplers or old fashioned samplers. I didn't want to do an old fashioned sampler because I want to have to do ice and everything. And kids today think an ice has to go in an old fashioned. So I want to do kind of a, do a Manhattan style cocktail for 3 cocktails, or do like 3 different martinis with these glasses. But anyway, I'll keep working on them. Sometimes it's hard to get get management to understand what you already know. I know what people are going to buy. You just got to listen to me. Just got to pay attention to what I'm telling you. Oh, mercy. I got a great clientele where I work, though. We've kind of got this understanding. There's several folks that come in that want cocktails that are slightly off menu, right? It's an old fashioned, but this. So I work with their needs, right? I've got a couple that loves lavender. So uh, I made a lavender simple syrup in house. So even though it's not, totally on menu, I've got that lavender simple for them, or hibiscus simple. I try to make sure my clientele, my customers, are getting what they want, and I'm willing to go off menu and that's why they keep coming back to me. But I also understand a lot of bars, cocktail lounges don't allow their bartenders to do that, which is why I'm probably going to stay where I'm at till the end of time, because I don't like to follow directions. I like to do things my own way, and they want me to make the sale, so they'll let me do things my own way. Anyways, this is very nice. Again, the cherry, vanilla, and orange might not necessarily scream Valentine's Day, but I feel like those flavors together, there's a certain romanticism about it. So, anyways, I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer, whiskey evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor of wisdom, and all around good guy. Sláinte. Have a good one, guys. Thanks for tuning in.